gonna play this Epiphone Les Paul Standard 60s that I rented. We're gonna find out if this thing's any good. This video isn't like other videos out there, you know, where they talk for like 15-20 minutes and then only play the guitar for a minute and a half. It's gonna be a whole heck of a lot of playing. But don't worry, they're still talking if you want that. We're also going to do some quick comparisons with some other Les Paul models. But enough talking, let's get after it. So you can't really do a review on YouTube unless you talk about the specs, right? I'm going to try and do that quickly and then we'll get back to 5 more sound samples. So starting off, we have a gloss polyurethane finish that is over a slab mahogany body that is non-weight relieved and a carved maple top. Now, the top is a veneer. The back, also a veneer. So the reason that Epiphone does this is to hide the amount of wood they actually, glue together before they carve out the guitar, and also to hide what the wood actually looks like. This particular one here, it is different on every single Epiphone, is actually a 4-piece mahogany back glued together. We also have a mahogany neck that has a joint going into the body and a scarf joint for the headstock. This is the 60s slim taper, so it's like a millimeter or 2 thicker than like an SG slim taper. We also have a bound laurel fretboard with the trapezoid inlays. On the front of the headstocks, where you're going to see the inlaid Epiphone logo and the silk-screened Les Paul model logo, you're also going to see that we have the 3-screw Bell standard truss rod cover here. We also have a Graphtec nut. The tuners here are the Grover Rotomatic 18-to-1 non-locking tuners. They are modern sizing rather than vintage, so that means if you just wanted to get locking Grovers, you can just do that and just take out one screw, take out this bolt. Very easy to do. Pickup wise, we do have the Epiphone Pro Bucker 3 in the bridge and the Epiphone Pro Bucker 2 in the neck. Both of those have Alnico 2 magnets. We have a 2-volume and 2-tone. These are CTS potentiometers. They're soldered. However, they connect to the pickups via a quick connect. So if you're looking to swap out the pickups here for like Epiphone quick connect pickups, very easy to do and you don't have to solder. And finally here we have the Epiphone lock tone bridge, which I'll talk about later. But just know you can probably get like a Tone Pros for like 40 bucks. That's enough of the specs. Here's 5 more sound samples. So now that we've heard the 5 sound samples there, I do want to throw one extra one in. And the reason that I do this is when I used to do Epiphone reviews and stuff like that, some people would be a little upset because of the cabinets that I'm using or the amps that I'm using. And just say, like, you know, I'm buying an Epiphone guitar. I can't afford a really good cabinet or a really good amp head, so I'd like to hear what it would sound like with like a budget rig. So that's what I'm going to do. I call this the Brand X, and like honestly, I'm still getting over being sick here, so I can't remember the Joker quote from 1989. I think it's like, uh-oh, he don't look happy. He's been using Brand X. So here is just a quick sound sample through like a budget-friendly rig. So now that we've heard all of the different sound samples with, like, you know, drum tracks and they're double tracked and everything like that, the next parts here, I like to say I'm doing to actually appease the internet. I'm trying to prevent tears from forming themselves into comments. It is helpful, but I kind of like saying that. So what I'm going to do here is play this guitar here in all 3 pickup positions in clean. I've always been someone who's found a little more benefit in hearing how the pickups react to a little bit of light drive. So here's the same thing with light drive. Now, as stated earlier, we do have 2 volume and 2 tone here, 3-way toggle switch, I forgot that one. This also has the little red generic capacitors in here. So let's go ahead and wiggle some knobs, and we'll actually hear how the potentiometers and the capacitor kind of work with these pickups. let's move on to the comparison portion of this video. I'm going to start out, we're basically just going to go Epiphone, Gibson Custom, just to give you a little bit of information and a little bit of, maybe satisfy some curiosity and maybe upset some people, I'm not sure. But we're going to start out here. This is the Epiphone Les Paul Standard 60s, and this is the Epiphone Les Paul Standard 50s. I have a comparison video that's like full on between these two guitars. And also I have a video, a longer video that actually explains the differences between these, like component-wise and all that stuff. So I'll link that in the description. But let's just do a very easy 3 pickup position comparison between both of these. The next logical comparison that you might want to make would be the Epiphone Les Paul Standard 60s against the Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s. Again, I've done a longer video that goes through the differences in components, and then I did a comparison video that's just more like focused on recorded sounds and stuff like that. I'll leave those links in the description down below as well, but let's just do a very simple 3 pickup position comparison. The final comparison that we'll do in this video here is probably not one that you'd really care to go through, I think, but it's just out of availability because I own this here. Let's just do a very simple, and again, I have a like what's the difference between both of these, where I actually go through. That one's like an hour long almost, and then one that's focused on sound, so I'll leave those links in the description down below as well. But we'll do an easy 3 pickup position comparison between the Epiphone Les Paul Standard 60s and the Gibson Custom Murphy Lab ultralight aging Les Paul Standard 60s. Alright, so that's it for all the different sound samples and comparisons and stuff like that. So it's just talking from here on out. And throughout this video, like we've kind of listened to this guitar. We've listened to this guitar in like quick comparisons, obviously, between like, you know, 3 other Les Pauls. So you've had that opportunity to decide for yourself whether, you know, through my hands and my choices, whether or not you think this is actually sounds like it's a good guitar. But in the world of guitar, it's 10% sound, 90% feel. So I'm going to give you my my thoughts on this guitar here. And for people who are a little, you know, agitated by what I just said, you can change how your guitar sounds. Very easy. Swap out the pickups. You can change the bridge here, which will help with feel as well. But you can change the bridge here. You get nickel-plated brass saddles, or, you know, something to that effect. There's a lot that you can do to actually change your sound. If you're someone that actually uses the volume and the tone, swap this out for 50s wiring with, you know, upgraded capacitors. That will highly change everything. However, it's very hard to fundamentally change how your guitar feels, apart from, like, you know, setup wise and little incremental things like, you know, swapping out the tuners, swapping out the bridge, different things like that. So you can't go in and, like I said, this is a 4-piece mahogany body. You can't go in and change that to a single piece. You can't go in and change the glue. That's actually, like, just buy another guitar at that point. You know what I mean? You can't change the fact that this is a poly finish unless you're stripping everything away and then, you know, refinishing it with like satin nitro or nitrocellulose. And even then, that's a pretty big job for most people to do. Refinishing a guitar, just don't do it. Unless it's like a pet project of yours, just avoid. So, like I said, I'm going to give you my thoughts here on the guitar. As far as feel, and I will touch on sound here, to actually say that I did not enjoy these pickups. It's unfortunate. They're extremely bland and they lack absolute clarity and definition, which in some high gain scenarios works really well. You know what I mean? Because you're able to actually, you know, increase the treble a little more, and maybe that'll work a little bit better for you. Or, you know, pop in like a 10-band EQ, or if you're from the 80s, you know, like a rack EQ or something like that. But just like going from one guitar to another, I did not enjoy these pickups, unfortunately. But pickups, very inexpensive. You know what I mean? Like $200-300, you can get a new set of pickups, a new fantastic set of pickups installed for you. So that's just something to look into. And it might be that these pickups work perfectly for you, in which case I don't think ill of you or anything like that, because everyone's ears are different and, you know, our preferences are different. But that's my take on these pickups. I wasn't a big fan. The neck is rather comfortable, very, very similar to the standard 60s, the Gibson version. But it's just a little different here towards the neck heel on this guitar than the Gibson one. But I mean, it's still a very, very comfortable neck. The Epiphone lock tone bridge, so far on the Les Paul Standard 50s, that one hasn't fallen apart on me. But every other one that I've ever rented, that has this bridge on it, they just start to buzz. And I think it's just the screws that they use going in to adjust the saddles for intonation and stuff like that. It's just a lesser quality. But you just want to, like, if you're having that issue, or if like you're able to actually move, thankfully this one doesn't, I've had it where it has, there's no movement here in the bridge. If you're having that, just Tone Pros, or like, there's a whole bunch of other companies that make better bridges. You just want to get the metric sizing. Avoid the imperial sizing. That is a different sizing for USA made guitars, so Gibson's basically. If you buy the imperial version over the metric version, it's just not going to fit. The spacing is wrong. But if you get the metric version, perfect. And what happens with the Epiphone lock tone bridge? It just buzzes. It was the B string at first, and now it's the low E string. It just it is very, very noticeable. And like usually it's something that's not too noticeable. Unless you're playing acoustically, but it got really bad for the low E string here, and if I'm in a drop tuning, like even just drop D, it just buzzes, and that's all I can feel when I strike the string. The body is also lighter than the standard 60s, so if you're someone that likes a lighter guitar, in comparison to the Gibson, this is probably 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds lighter, which to a lot of people is very, very welcome. And I always get the comment of, oh, the Laurel fretboard feels cheap, to which in my mind, it could just be that they're playing an older Epiphone that has the older Laurel, because they source different Laurel now. I think it's like Indian Laurel, I can't remember. But this actually has a closer feel to rosewood. There's actually pores in the wood, and there's more definition in the wood in comparison to the old stuff, which felt like cardboard and had a really weird white tinge that even when you would put lemon oil or what have you on it, it still kind of stayed there. So it wasn't a treatment that they put on the wood. But a lot of people do just note that they think that the Laurel feels cheap. So, leave in the comments down below, is that after some time? Because I'm only renting these for like a month, and then even then I'm still playing my actual guitars. So maybe they don't get enough attention to where like its sweat gets in there. But yeah, just let me know in the comments what you think there. Also, the Grover tuners, they're very nice. However, they're just a little thinner, and they don't feel as rigid as the Gibson USA ones. Someone did state that it's Grover made in a different area, but I'm not familiar with that. And like, to me, I much prefer the vintage style tuners like the Clousons and vintage sizing. So it's not something that I'd be like, I need to research that, because it's not on my list to research. But that's really it in how I feel. I think it is a good guitar. I mean, this one here is the only one I do have to note that has really sharp fret ends. I haven't played another Epiphone that has that. But hey, I didn't rip up my hand, thankfully, while playing this one. But yeah, that's really it. I think it is a good guitar, but I think it does need a little bit of work. And then once you do actually go through that work, I think it'll be a guitar that you'll be able to play for years and years. Thanks for watching.